I had a lot of fun with that. I was a little late getting show notes together. Thank you, Wicked, for stepping in on that because I was too busy being baited by Egg Priest. But actually, I went up 1 win out of the thing. So is it really being baited?
If nothing else, you didn't end up with egg on your face, and that's all we can ask.
That is all we can ask, and we'll have to find the right shell to hold this egg.
So what you're saying is that the deck is cracked.
No, stop. Welcome to episode 538 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, March 19th, 2026 in the evening. Coming to you from Nomergon, Ohio, it's me, Edelweiss. From Northrend, Massachusetts, we have Wicked Good.
Hi.
From Teldrassil, California, we have Megasa.
Hello.
And from all around the world, we have you, dear listeners. This week's episode is brought to you by our producers, Number Theory, Crash, Beef Squatch, David P., Jeremy T., Bottle Caps, Grumpy Monk, The Burger Club, Kirk Regan, May, NY Kiwi, Spine, and by our patrons of the week, Craptasm and Scott Lambert. You can go to patreon.com/coinconcede to get perks like a thank you at the top of the show, bonus post-show content, early access to new episodes, and help support the show in the process. If you would like to support the show but cannot do so monetarily, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your podcast feed of choice, as it always helps other people find the show. So, how are you two enjoying Cataclysm?
Well, I got to live the Control pre-stream for about 5 minutes until I was brought unceremoniously down to Earth. And yeah, it's not good. It's we were brewing like the day before the expansion release. Megasa and I were kind of brewing up a quest priest that when you start looking at it, and I've been pretty vocally convinced that like quest into Medivh's Triumph is a bait, but I was willing to play along to see how it was going because I would be happy to be wrong, you know. Like I as whatever gets us there is fine. But when you start doing that, then you kind of want to build around the quest being a win con, which means that you need to actually finish the quest. And when you do that, you start looking at the shadow spells that are in standard right now, and then you get very sad because they're all really, I mean, not all of them, but most of them are really bad. And Resuscitate is probably one of the better ones, but then if you want to play Resuscitate, that cuts even more shadow spells out of the pool because a bunch of them summon random minions, and if you're trying to make the quest reward your win con, then you want to play Umbra, which means that you don't want any other death rattles in the pool. And if you're summoning a random tot, it's very likely to have death rattle, or if you're summoning a random 2-drop, it's very likely to have death rattle, and then you're sad. So we MacGyvered something together, and I did play it on day one, and I was beaten pretty soundly about the head and shoulders when I tried to play it, and then I decided that I needed to do anything else.
But a lot of the anything else has been fun.
Yeah, the anything else has been good. When I haven't been trying to make fetch happen, it's been pretty good. I played the Herald Shaman because I still had the Alakir that I'd opened up in pre-release Brawl. I kind of had learned enough from that experience to kind of know how to pilot the deck, and that went pretty well. I think it was like 10-3 on the first day of the expansion, and then I tried that afterwards, and it did not work nearly as well because there were a lot fewer druids on day one, and it was a lot more like warriors and demon hunters and stuff like that. Things that people were either getting out of their system or trying to make work and hadn't kind of accepted that they don't yet. Not the warriors, but the demon hunters, I think, were pretty popular on day one, and they've dropped off since. But yeah, once the next day I didn't get to play too much because I was helping Maureen climb. And then I tried some today at lunch, and the shaman was not happening. Like, I just could never get bored against. It didn't matter what I was playing against. I just couldn't get on board and stay there. And then as soon as you lose board in this meta, you're done. So I switched over to a warrior. There's a couple, we'll talk about it. There's a couple different flavors, but I picked up a warrior that does run Ragnaros just because I want to play the new stuff. Like, I could play a dragon warrior that doesn't, but I could have done that for the last 3 months, and I didn't really want to do that. And having an 8-drop and a 10-drop in my deck makes me feel at least like I'm playing maybe not control, but at least a mid-range deck. So it makes me feel better about myself and my reputation. So and the Warriors been doing pretty well. I've gone 5-1 since I got home from work today, and that's been pretty good. So it feels good. And the one loss was ironically to a Quest Priest when I couldn't draw any of my Heralds before turn 8. And Ragnaros on curve with having heralded once is sad and underwhelming. And maybe I should have done it anyway, but I couldn't really bring myself to do it. And that was not the way that I wanted to go out. But it was fine. But it's been doing pretty well for me otherwise. And I'm like, I don't know, somewhere in the Diamond 3 range. I didn't climb too much. I didn't play any ladder like in the Franken meta because like I really didn't want to play against Starships again or any of the other nonsense that was coming back into the meta. So I just jammed the pre-release brawl for that week. So I was like at like Diamond 10 when I started the climb on Tuesday. And so I've been climbing pretty well, but I'm not there yet, but that's fine. I wasn't expecting to be.
I came in, I did try a little bit of that Quest Priest. That had really been my idea that I mentioned last time of like, we have a lot of healing, we can do that, we can have a quest as our eventual inevitability, and maybe in a different meta sort of, or if we had better shadow spells, but you have to spend a lot of mana playing shadow spells that are not that good. However, Treant Druid / Token Druid is real good, and I got in on that train early. I'm not sure. There's definitely still a number of different lists floating around for Treant Druids and Token Druids. We have a couple lists in the like deck sheet in the show notes that we'll be referencing for Decksplanations today. First, I just did one that I just built. I didn't look at the VS list. I didn't look at other lists. I just built one and went for it. I put a Mirdrasil in my list, and I that one I stand by. Of my card choices, that and wave shaping. Wave shaping, I think, is less controversial, but sometimes we gas out, but we actually do have some ability to come back in some of the games where we gas out, especially if we got like a Mirdrasil down on like 6th or something. Like, oh, plan A didn't work. Let me start drawing some cards. And you can sometimes get some burst damage if you got them low. So I actually like having that in addition to like the Panther masks, which everyone is using for draw. Who knew that we'd actually be using one of the mask cards, Panther mask, for anyone who doesn't remember.
It was always kind of the best one.
It was always the best one, yeah. It sets a minion stats to 5/4, gives it stealth, and draws 2 cards. And it costs 4 mana, and that is good on an egg. I experimented with just having Wicker Fang for the egg bearers, but I think actually having the 2-drop egg that drops a 3/3 that buffs the whole board, so it's really a 4/4, and it buffs the rest of your board, is just too good to not run.
Yeah.
And then you run things that'll allow it to activate. Hatchery Helper, of course, the +1/+1 for other minions on the board. I might put Mark of the Wilds back in there. So I think probably within, like, by next week, there'll probably be like a list. But right now there's definitely like a core, a long neck egg. I couldn't remember the name of it. There's a core of like Hatchery Helper, Ravenous Flock, Crystal Spide Cub, the Wildwood Circle. The Shatter card is insanely good in this deck.
Yeah, I think that's probably the Shatter card that has seen the most play.
I probably should have picked this as my card you think is underrated. Just Shatter as a mechanic. I said that last week as like, oh, I could do this. Obviously, it does depend on what type of deck you're putting it in, but in fast decks, it totally works. So, especially, of course, the Wildwood Circle and Druid, because the Druid's just working really well, but also Supply Run in Hunter also works well. And I've been seeing some of it in some Paladins as well. Actually, there was an interesting Paladin that I saw today that I haven't had a chance to play yet that was like a Menagerie Paladin that also runs Nozdormu. Because if you get that down with a wide board.
Like, who cares about doubling if you just give everything Divine Shield? And if you've already got some shields, they get buffed. That seems good. Yeah.
And you have the weapon in there, so in case you have the weapon down and then you Nozdormu, then you can get it doubled. But like, you're not necessarily needing to get the Sand Fury aura down or anything like that. So I think that looks promising. Some of these things are in on Steve's website. We also have this link in the show notes, offcurve.com/new-meta-decklists. At least for the first few days, Wicked and I and World 8 will put lists from across social media in there. We do not make any claim as to whether these decks are going to win you games. Basically, I have gone to the site that shall not be named so that you don't have to go to the site that shall not be named and find deck lists that content creators are putting out there.
Yeah. This is like the one time, like the 3 weeks a year that I actually like open up the site that shall not be named, because people still don't post on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
And especially with Hearthstone top decks closing down, like there's a lot. I mean, there is still hearthstonedecks.net, and we'll still post those, but they don't post on Blue Sky either. So
I wonder how many people had kind of the experience I did, which was like, okay, I've totally purged Twitter from my life. I make a Blue Sky account, and I'm like, actually, it's kind of nice just not doing the social media thing.
Yeah,
I kind of did that.
I mean, I do miss some of the back and forth and stuff like that, but also it's, you know, it is a little bit nice to not be on display, you know, all the time.
That's what Discord is for. I'm very active on social media, but it's like 98% Discord. If that counts as, I guess that counts as social media, but in a little bit of a different way. But yeah, so I played a lot of the Druid, but I also played some 1-drop Hunter. I had made one with Gen. It's probably not nearly as good as the one that we have in the show notes, which is one that is running like definitely a lot of 1-drops and Confront the Tol'vir, but also like the Sisters and Sylvanas' Triumph, because there is a lot of other aggro. So Sylvanas' Triumph is the like deal 3 damage if you've played another copy of this, hit all enemies instead. You want like any way you can get back on the board. So I'm actually kind of surprised there's no supply run in this. I've seen that in some other lists, so I'm kind of surprised it's not in here. I will be surprised if it doesn't end up making the final cut, but maybe it won't. I don't know. Gen was pretty good in the list that I had, just because like you don't have that many cards in your hand. So he's going to be active, and then that extra 3 damage over the top can get there sometimes, but it definitely was not as strong as the Treant Druid or the Imbue Druid. I will say, I think you guys also as well had said, you know, Imbue Druid might actually be fine after rotation. I didn't think it was going to be this good after rotation. Yeah. And I don't think it's necessarily like, oh, they missed a huge like thing to not realize that Imbue Druid was going to be this good after rotation. But like the nature pool got better, and Druid just got some strong cards in general.
I'm very mixed about it, because on the one hand, it is strong. I don't know that it's too strong. I think it just is very heavily played, because they did a lot of stuff to get people to come back to the game, right? A lot of promo, giving everyone Emerald Dream and Ungoro for free, right?
Yeah.
So you've got people with minimal collections, maybe even completely 100% free to play, right? There's this deck that uses those gifted cards, right? In Imbue Druid. And like, 4 new cards or something.
I think Fido said something, they had a post that it's like 460 dust to craft this deck.
Yeah, because that's how many new cards, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
So that means literally anyone who wants to play it can play it, like, or anyone who wants to play a competitive deck on ladder, right? So it's this combination of like, there already would have been a lot of people playing it because it uses older cards. Now there's even more accessibility for people to play it because they give everyone those cards for free. Like, even if it runs a Mirror Still, they've got that too. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying I feel conflicted, because I think it's good to get all those people back, and it's new for some of those people, right?
Yeah.
Certainly for anyone coming back, it's new.
I mean, that's good because for those new people, they'll get used to the experience of playing a broken deck for a week and a half for the beginning of expansion and then having it nerfed out from under them, because that's probably what's going to happen.
Is it broken, or is it just that people are figuring stuff out?
It is the highest win rate archetype in the meta currently. At least at Diamond 4-1. I don't know. I didn't look at Legend, but I was looking at Diamond 4-1. It's the highest win rate archetype. It's closely followed by Aggro Druid, but which is basically the Treant token Druid. But it is the highest win rate deck. If you go to HS Guru, like 7 of the top 10 lists for Diamond through Legend are Imbue Druids, and it is at Diamond 1, it is 28.6% of the meta. It is prevalent, but it's also winning at that prevalence.
Right. And you do, I think it is taking some time to build stuff specifically to beat it. Now, I've seen those decks. I've seen people playing Quest Warrior with just like full control. It's a very different kind of control though, because it's got like Exeggcute and all these enraged sorts of things, because there's no brawl. And it's trying to turbo Quest. Now, I don't know if that's specifically for the Druids or not. I know that Odemian made a like anti-imbue Druid Death Knight, where it's like there's no time for resurrecting. There's no, it's just like control the board and then get a huge swing, later on. I had some success with a Rafam Warlock.
Of course you did.
Because we still have the 5-drop that when it dies recruits a beast out of your deck.
Animancer.
Yeah, recruiting Ultra Gigasaurs, it's really good into this meta, because very few decks have I'm just going to use this card to kill that. I mean, ironically, I do, right? Because I have Siphon Soul. And it's, it's not the same kind of work involved in cracking an egg. So, and eventually I was like, as much as I hate the feeling of when I draw the Ultra Gigasaurs, I decided that rather than diluting the pool of like other stuff I could hit, because if you kill the Animancer or whatever it's called with a herald thing that eats it, right? Because the eating happens at the end of the turn. The soldier's end of turn happens to eat it, but you don't get the end of turn of like Krog or the Warlock Beast, right? If you did, then I think it'd be worth having them, right? Because you recruit Krog, it sets all this up to 1/1, beautiful. Doesn't work that way. So I cut those, and it's just Ultra Gigasaur, and I'm running 1, and maybe I'll find a way to add a second of the 2-drop Sheltered Survivor that shuffles
I was going to ask
a card from your hand. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to mention.
I may have to find a way to include a second, because like this is now the way that you can run just a couple targets and still be able to do that sometimes. So the other thing is, because Rafam makes you a 40-card deck, you're less likely, it still happens, but you're less likely to draw the hits. So it is auto keep possessed Animancer, and then whatever other early game stuff I ended up going towards, like Coil. I still have like Cursed Chains, and the only heralds are the Shadow Sworn Disciple, the 2-drop, and the Location, because the Location draws you 2 cards.
And it heralds twice. Yeah.
And it heralds twice, which means I can run Deathwing. I ended up cutting Ultraxian because there was never time to play Ultraxian. So, the herald package is the 2-drop, the 4-drop Location, and Cursed Chains and Deathwing. It's not any of the other stuff. And it's been nice.
Put this in the show notes while you remember.
Well, I did. It's there.
You did. Okay.
And it's there
Beautiful.
in its final form. Like, this is.
I am going to have to give this to Maureen, because she opened up a golden Rafam out of like the one Across the Timeways pack that she opened from the rewards track yesterday. And I looked at it, I'm like, well, that's a fun card. But yeah, I mean, this could work.
And
her.
like, it's a tempo deck. I mean, well, it's not a tempo. It's a control deck that wins with damage more than it wins with Reform, right?
Yeah.
Because you know, plan A is Ultra Gigasaur gets recruited, and you only need to hit him a couple of times with that thing. And it then makes it okay to have taken damage in the early game because you gain 14. And then, yeah, the Reform stuff, like after the buff that they did, is just a lot of times just really great tempo, right? You know, you can do the Murloc one to cheat something out early. The one that summons a copy of itself with Taunt is crazy. The armor is 10 armor, and you know, you've got a full board polymorph. Like, it's pretty great stuff in there out of just the reforms along the way. And if you do end up against a Medivh, you know, heal reversal priest, which they're out there, I don't know how well they're doing in general.
God bless them.
I've faced a bunch. And you know, they will like go to 30 like every other turn, and of course have Shadow Word Ruin for the Ultra Gigasaur. Then I've got Reform, and one time both my Twisting Nethers were buried, and I did lose that game. But Twisting Nether destroys locations, so you're not getting comboed when you can just go ahead and go, oh, you've got both locations out and Karazhan. All right, say goodbye.
Yeah, that is not something that they're going to be expecting.
Yeah.
I did face... Well, first, I want to say, on the Imbue Druid, like, I think it is frustrating how many we're playing, but it is partly a function of the deck. Was easy to refine. The deck is cheap. The deck is new to a lot of people, because the last time we played it was Emerald Dream, and it was a little bit different at that point. It is frustrating to see it so much, but also there's always something that's like this on 48 hours after an expansion launch. So we'll have to see whether the meta adjusts, and I hope they take a second to see if the meta adjusts.
Mm-hmm.
But it may be that something in Druid has to come down a little bit.
I do hope that they hit the old cards, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would rather aggro Druid still be good and people gravitate over to that, and Imbue Druid be worse or dead, than for them to like hit the Cub already. That's gonna become a 1/1. But you know, they don't have to hit it yet, in my opinion. This is the Cub that grows whenever you spend all your mana.
And that thing does die. Like, it doesn't run away with the game every game.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. No, I hellfire them sometimes.
Yeah. But I mean, this is also the kind of deck that they do tend to hit, because
for sure.
It's
the play
old.
rate is
it's old and the play rate's
high.
astronomical. Like, you can't have a deck that's 30% of the meta. That's bananas. Right.
Yeah. And I the reason I'm conflicted is because, like, look, I'd love to see it go away. I just also am like, oh, but it's this thing that all these people who came back can play, and you're gonna immediately take it away from them.
Yeah. But it's also just kind of boring, you know? Like,
I mean, you say that, you have a collection.
No, I know, but it's...
And also, we played it, like, there is some thinking that you have to do in terms of piloting it of...
Yeah.
Like, how do you balance hitting the hero power versus playing the cards?
Yeah.
It's not buff the hero power.
And it's quite different than the iteration we had before, right? This is a lot, like, even more so leaning towards the go wide aggro druid, right? The fact that you've got that shatter spell that gives things the death rattle for treants. You've got that Cub. You know, obviously it doesn't have the double hero power thing anymore, thank God. But I find that they do a lot more of, like, you know, just hyper aggression early, you know, and because they've got that new spell that gives minion +1 for each minion you control, and that can get out of hand quickly.
That can. But on the, I did also, when you were mentioning seeing the priests, I was trolling the site that shall not be named for things to put in our spreadsheet, and a player named Rami, who is a former grandmaster from Brazil who was in the winter playoffs recently, had tagged Clark, who is the right person to tag with this bait, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And was basically like, priest is good, just don't run quest. And like with no context. So Clark responds like, don't tempt me. And then Rami posted a list that was an egg priest. And I said, I have to try this. So the idea is you actually have lots of ways to kill the egg in priest. Eternal Flame is a big one. You also have For All Time, which kills all things with 4 or less attack, which is really good in this current meta. It's 4 mana and it has Overload too, but it kills all things with 4 or less attack, so that's pretty good, including your egg. You have the 1 mana Holy Spell that deals 3.
Holy Smite?
Holy Smite, yes. Okay. The old core card. There's at least one other way that I'm blanking on right now. So you have ways to kill your egg. He had been running also Light of the New Moon, which is the card that no one has ever played, that buffs a minion +3/+3, but if you played 3 spells while you were holding it, then you get it back. I'm not sure if we're running that or if we're cutting that, because when I tried to play with it, I never had time to play it, but also, I'm sure Rami put it in for a reason. But anyway, we have ways to kill it. We can have Umbra. We have Schism, which can either buff it so it can attack, or copy it. He was running Resuscitate as well. I'm not sure if we want to run Resuscitate.
Yeah, he's just running 1. That's pretty good.
I think we want to cut, though, the 1-drop Glade Ecologist, because we don't want that in Umbra's pool. Yeah. Although I did have that happen. It is okay if Umbra only hits like 4 eggs in her pool, so like running Living Flame in order to tutor the Eternal Flame, I think is totally fine. Oh, and notably, Medivh's Triumph is also discounted by having an egg on board.
Which is much better than running the quest. So much better than running the quest, because it actually like does anything.
Yes. And we can run, before we crack our eggs, we can run Shadowward Ruin, we can run Devouring Ooze, like all the things that egg things do. First game, I got killed by an Imbue Druid. And I was thinking about, like, can we modify any of these things? What if we do put the Ruby Sanctum stuff in with Mend and like Flash Heal or something? So I was thinking about things. Second game, I think it was a Demon Hunter. They got out their like fully heralded Ajara. And it did not matter because I had 3 20/20s with taunt.
It seems okay.
So then they killed themselves on the 20/20. So I won that game. Third game was a Priest Mirror, and I would have won, except for I forgot that Medivh exists.
But you were running his Triumph.
I know. His triumph against me was that I somehow forgot that he silences the whole board when he destroys it. So I did not win that game. Because I had already played Umbra, the smart thing to do would have been to hold back Umbra, right? Until after they play Medivh. But I'm sure they were waiting for me to play Umbra before they played Medivh, right? So we could have been waiting there a long time. But anyway, I did not win that game. But no other class has that, and there's not that many of those. So I don't know exactly what the list is going to end up looking like, but I had a lot of fun with that. I was a little late getting show notes together. Thank you, Wicked, for stepping in on that, because I was too busy being baited by Egg Priest. But actually, I went up 1 win out of the thing, so is it really being baited?
If nothing else, you didn't end up with egg on your face, and that's all we can ask.
That is all we can ask, and we'll have to find the right shell to hold this egg. Actually, Wicked, when I said we have to find the right shell for it before the show in our Discord chat, it was completely accidental and not a pun, and it's only because you pointed it out.
Yeah.
That I've done it again.
So what you're saying is that the deck is cracked.
No, stop. Oh god.
Marking this for possible YouTube teasering. Okay. But enough about that. We can see that we've really gone down. I do have a whole section on the show notes called Deep Cuts from Social Media with the weirdest decks that I have seen. Those people are definitely still trying stuff. I mean, even though there's a lot of Dragon Warriors and there's a lot of Imbue Druids, people are trying stuff. There's a number of new decks out there. The meta is no longer grindy. I do think we could probably shift a little bit slower, but also new metas, especially post-rotation, tend to be more aggro heavy in general because those get refined first. They punish jank more harshly. So we'll see how the actual meta shakes out. And then if we do need a little bit of a touch slower, I will be fine with that. I promise I'll be fine with that. But it's still only 48 hours then.
Yeah, and I mean, last year's rotation was kind of an anomaly, because the cards were so much weaker, and really, a lot of the mechanics that they were giving us were pretty slow. Like, Imbue is a pretty slow mechanic that takes a while to get going, and also there was just so much neutral healing and armor gain. Starships, Ziliacs. That's going to make that meta slower, but that was the exception that proves the rule. Typically, this is how it's going, where you're dying on like turn 5 or turn 6 in the beginning of a rotation meta, just because the aggro decks are generally easier to figure out. The control decks take a little bit longer because you have to figure out what tools are actually good, and also figure out what you're actually targeting, because if you guess wrong, then you get murdered. So
we are still in Life and Ladder. We should probably
wow.
Probably get moving.
So you're saying before we end up with the routine being a little too scrambled, we should go into news? Just when you thought it was safe to come out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
All right, so we did have a hotfix patch that came in a week ago. I think it was right after we recorded, fixing some significant bugs that were there, particularly the Time Looper Toki bug. So where Time Looper Toki was not granting another Time Looper Toki after you cast the 4 spells, which is kind of the point of Time Looper Toki. Like, getting a Time Looper Toki gives you 4 spells from the past once and then never again is a lot less appealing. So they did fix that. They also fixed an issue where some healing turn damage involving Atiesh and Cleansing Cleric was being calculated incorrectly. I would have been very upset if I actually got to do that. And then it was, I mean, I guess I don't know. It could have been high. Who knows which direction it was calculating in, but it was calculating wrong, one or the other.
It can still be a lot. I got killed with 22 damage flash heal.
Seems good
Today. So
yeah, that'll work. There's a number of a lot of like visual bugs, cosmetic bugs. There's something, and a lot of wild. Very often these are wild interactions, like Deathwing Worldbreaker can now correctly gain attack from Groovy Cat. That's not a thing I was particularly worried about, but I'm sure there are some wild players who are. That sort of thing. So some visual bugs there. Nothing too impactful other than maybe Time Looper Toki, but I don't know that you really have time to play Time Looper Toki anyway, so you might not notice. One other thing that we do that is not a bug, but that is worth mentioning because I've seen it come up both in our Discord and on Reddit. Sands of Time, which is the 1-mana spell that lets you discover from any class and with Rewind discover a spell from your class. That was an event card, and the event has since ended. It will not be available. Typically, the cards that are part of the events will be available by opening packs after the event has ended. That will be the case with Sands of Time, but not until patch 35.2, which is in 3 to 4 weeks. That'll be the Battleground season refresh. So that's a bit of an issue if you want to play the best version of No Minion Demon Hunter, because it does run Sands of Time in it, from what I understand. So if you missed that event, and no one could blame you taking a break for the last month or so of the last year, then you would have missed that. You're going to have to wait until that next patch in order to be able to get that. Once that happens, you will be able to open up any pack, just one pack of Across the Timeways, and then you'll get that card added to your collection. But that won't be for another couple of weeks. So it's not a bug. It's just they give it a bit before they add it into the packs.
One more thing that is not a bug. I think we mentioned this last time. The Onyxia if you have really low health and you try to play Onyxia, then it doesn't work. It's not a bug, but it is a thing that they might look at and change.
Yeah, because the game will not let you play something that will effectively kill yourself. So if you play Onyxia and you are at less than 8 life with a fully heralded Onyxia, then it won't let you play any of the cards for health without you healing first, even though you would heal it back up, because presumably you would take the damage first and then heal up, but then you'd be dead, which is not the way that the card reads. But it seems like what it does is it actually spends the life, then heals you up double, is the way that it maybe it's implemented because of that. So anyway, it won't let you do it right now, but that might be something that they consider.
Actually, I found it. They specifically said in tracked issues, we will update her in a future patch to allow an exception to the general rule when she's in play. Another thing that's important here that they noted on tracked issues, Naspira Unshackled, the Demon Hunter location, does not actually include Ajara Ocean Lord in its generation pool. This is the intended result, but the card's text will be updated in a future patch to make this clear.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
That would be a little too good, I think. So that's fine. But I mean, the Onyxia thing, like I lost. Well, I shouldn't say I lost because it was a Hail Mary, but like I had multiple games where I played that forgetting that you couldn't do it, even after having discussed it on last week's show. So like knowing full well that it works that way, and then I play it like, oh yeah, I'm an idiot. So at least it'll not make you feel like an idiot when you do that. There is, and we mentioned there's a bunch of people coming back to the game. They have published a returning player's guide on the Hearthstone site. This is, if you are listening to this podcast, I mean, possibly if you're listening to this podcast and you listened to us before and you're listening to us now, first of all, welcome back. That's something for you. For most other regular listeners, this is probably not anything for you, but it may be something that you're going to pass along to a friend. So it's good to know that it exists. And it talks about getting the free rewards for returning, about the ladder ready decks that it's going to give you, about the grand opening returning quest chain, where it's going to give you catch-up packs, the Dream City trial cards, what the progression track is like, and then all of the things that have changed in the last, I don't know, year or so, and how you find out about new keywords and some of the new features that have happened maybe since they've left, and then also what's going on in the new expansion, and then how you get more cards and where you can go to the community, that sort of thing. So it's a good thing for them to do. Hopefully they'll kind of bump this up to the top every rotation just with some updates, but it's good that they're at least like thinking about that and trying to get that in front of folks. And also we got Dragonflight recruitment to 100%. Now we were at like 76 the day before the expansion. So I don't, not to get all conspiracy theory on you, but it seems a little bit surprising that we got all the way to 100 being that low, that close, but whatever. So there will be rewards in the shop on 317. Well, those should be in the shop right now because 317 was Tuesday. Until patch 35.6, which will be 3 months from now. So you do want to go into the shop, not only for those, but they're also doing like free packs every week. And I'm just making a note that I need to go tell Maureen to do that because I don't think that she did when we were getting her set up yesterday. But if you don't normally go into the shop to poke around, do make sure to go in there and get your free rewards and get your free pack, because it's the kind of thing that if you miss it, it's just going to be gone.
Speaking of the shop, that reminds me, my plan just completely failed. Like, I assumed that there would be a huge signature package akin to the Lost City of Unguro, the quests, right? Where you could get all the quests signature, and that would be, the quest and the quest reward with signatures, and you could get all of them for like 100 something. Which, would have been a bad deal based on the playability of those. I figured that Heralds would be a better bet, and that they would probably have a big bundle of all the Heralds in signature. that is not what it was. It is just Shogal, Alakir, and Sinestra. Of which, like, it's not even that I don't want Sinestra and Alakir. It's just that I had an expectation of getting all of them in Signature, and when it turns out to be just 3 of them and their supporting cards, like, I'm not saying it's a bad deal, it's just not what I was expecting and hoping for. And I already had opened all of them. Definitely the Rogue one, definitely Sinestra and Shogal, because the plan was to, like, I give my bundles to my friend, and then I'll get this thing instead because I want the signatures anyway. And it turns out that I just opened most of the heralds. So yeah, it's like good for I have Alec here. Yeah, it's good for my wallet in the end. But it was sort of a bummer because I really like signature arts, and I would have bought a bundle, even a pricier bundle, if it was all the herald cards in signature. And maybe that's just because I had that expectation going in. I did see that Arisen and Nixia is at the end of the rewards track, so I feel very good about that $20. But yeah, I was like, oh wait, this wasn't quite what I was hoping for, because it's just those ones. And if I'm not going to have all the heralds in signature, well, then why bother?
Yeah.
So I, for the first time in a long time, did not get the Tavern Pass because I'm like Arisen and Ixia and signature. No.
Yeah, that tracks. I didn't even look at it. I just bought it, but I'm happy with my purchase because
but you get Diamond Calic.
I may change my mind, but
and Gen,
I
right?
was like,
or is Gen free?
Or I already have Gen anyway. One way or another, I have Gen, but I have only so far dusted Great Dark Beyond. I have not yet gone through and dusted Perils or Whizbang yet. And I already have more dust than when I started, and I bought no packs for gold. Now, I know this is a very first world problem, but for anyone who might be out there like me who generally gets bundles and it's just sitting on a huge hoard of dust, like, you can use that. Like,
oh yeah, I forgot that I have not yet gotten around to the gargantuan task of
neither have I.
dusting the stuff that went to wild.
Yeah,
it takes a long time.
It takes forever.
If you don't just hit the button because you don't want to hit the recent cards. Yeah,
there's golden Medivh's triumphs.
Yeah, how are you going to live without your golden War Master Blackhorn?
Well,
oh yeah, you also get the experimental animation and the obsessive technician signature. You get all the accoutrement for Arisen and Ixia. That's a deal. I don't know how you could pass up on that, honestly.
Golden Gen and
I haven't seen what the Blackrock Rokara looks like. We haven't gotten a Rokara skin in a while, and another Arana skin too. So
I didn't realize I would get so much peer pressure on this.
we just want you to play. We want you to play Herald Death Knight and enjoy life. So
I no stake in that. I just
if I played Death Knight, I would definitely have gotten it. But
no, you wouldn't have, because you don't play that kind of Death Knight.
If I played that kind of Death Knight,
yes,
I definitely would have gotten it. Yes, I have tried a little bit of the Unholy Death Knight.
I didn't even know that was what was at the end. That was a nice surprise. For me. It was like, oh, Golden Gen and Diamond Calic, and at this point it's kind of habit getting the rewards track. But
yeah, I just go in and click it and just get it, and also getting the extra XP and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it
fast tracks the XP for sure.
If I enjoyed playing Rogue at all, like the Lady Sinestra hero skins,
it's a good one. Yeah, it's nice.
I forgot to mention, I did see on day one people saying, oh yeah, Herald Rogue is good, and I decided to just play 2 games with it and got murdered. And said
I've
validated
got
all
one.
of my because I decided I was just gonna not have any preconceived notions. I was gonna try it and not be prejudiced. And being prejudiced in this case was the correct move. So I should have just saved myself the pain.
I have a special one. It's no Altraxian, no Deathwing, no 5-drop heralds. It's just the other heralds and Onyxia. And it's an aggro rogue. Like, it's an aggro rogue that's like, yeah, and extra value.
Yes, that is also in the show notes. Yeah, the top of the curve is Opu and Sinestra.
Yeah.
And everything else is 4 mana or less.
Anyhow.
Anyhow.
I want an aggro rogue with Gen to work, but
the hero power's not even that great.
Corona's so unplayable.
When I was playing Hunter, my rogue opponent deja vu'd my Gen. And that worked out well for them, I will say.
It's a good hero power. It's just that it was it's different when you start the game with it, right?
Yeah.
And this was as a 2-mana one, right? 2 mana for a 2/2 dagger. It's just, you had Hench Clan Thug, you had Myra's Unstable Element, was that what it was called? I forget. Draw the rest of your deck.
Yeah.
I forget if that deck had Vilespine Slayer.
I think that was after Vilespine Slayer, I think, went out around then. Because Vilespine Slayer that only stayed in for a little bit of time. But
I have fond memories. I think my highest ever legend was with Odd Rogue. In like the 200s or something.
Anyhow, we should we do have some tournament news to talk about, and I think it'll be quick, but there's enough that we should play this.
It's the grand tournament.
So yeah, we got playoffs. For those unfamiliar with how this works, it was actually a little bit different this time. In terms of how we broadcast it, I think we cast fewer matches, but basically every single match that we cast was an elimination match. We started with APAC, then Europe, then Americas by order of time. I missed most of APAC because I went back to sleep after doing my tech check. Honestly, very different lineups across the 3 regions. Because my understanding is some of the later time zone regions would basically see what the other ones had been doing and then go the next step. And it just led to some really interesting stuff. So
they didn't have to lock in their lineups the day before or anything like that.
It definitely was. Yeah, the lineups were locked in the day before. It's just that all that stuff still was kind of based on the time that you were in. Right?
Oh, so the first day of the tournament, they were able to watch to see what was happening and stuff like that.
Yeah. If you were awake, you could check out what APEC's doing before you submit for EU or Americas.
Yeah.
So interesting stuff there. Coming out of Asia Pacific. Brain, it's listed on HS Guru.
They changed it to Brain Piece.
Yeah, Brain Piece, Gyu, Vision, and then something that's in Korean characters that I forget what we used. Made it through, and yeah, there was some Starship, DK going on in APAC. Location lock was present throughout the whole day. Very, very strong comeback for that deck. Sometimes more Zerg than others. And then you had various kinds of Hunter, right? Discover Hunter, still good. Some of them were a Zerg Discover Hunter, right? And getting out Seaside Giants, that version, if you remember. You saw some Azara Druids with the location. There were a bunch of Quest Warriors, Cliff Dive, and Broxagar DH, right? And so I feel like Warlock Hunter and Demon Hunter were sort of the most present. but there's a lot of differences for like third and fourth deck. If you sort of watch over the course of the day and going through the different regions coming out of EU, Maori, Maverick, Method, and Nick Drake made it out over Asuna, Yarla, Monkey Flip, and Saver. Oh, and I forgot to mention the eliminated from APAC, Curfew, Maple, Shaxi, and Suni. Suni, such a good sport about it. I kind of wanted him to win. But EU, there was a lot more like Hydration Druid and Wanajara Druid. I think that was kind of the big development there. Maori making it through with a Hagatha Shaman. Just like, that deck didn't get better. It just, I think it just felt it was well positioned. A fair amount of armor Demon Hunter in EU. There were 3 of them, but none of them made it through. And yeah, no minion DH there seemed to be kind of an almost like counter druid thing going on in EU. Lots of quest warriors as well. A couple of Protoss mages, one who made it through, one who didn't. Those were the exact same lineup between Monkey Flip and Nick Drake, and it's just Monkey Flip, I think, was unluckier and then played a bit worse. And then over on Americas, everything changed again. Brazil had 5 of the 8 spots, which was just wild. We joked that there was the Brazil lineup, which was Armor DH, Hydration Druid, Imbue Hunter, and Egglock. All the Brazilians had Imbue Hunter. That was kind of the realization over the course of the day, is like, oh, I actually just don't have to deal with all this nonsense if I kill you on 6 with King Flush.
Yeah, seems good. Yeah,
and those games would be fast because either they would die before that, or they would kill them on like turn 6, turn 7. Lots of Hydration Druids, 5 Egg Locks, and 3 Location Locks. So you see how like the hunters over the course of the day in different regions kind of developed from Discover Hunter into Imbue Hunter. Still a lot of Demon Hunter throughout, but really almost everyone had Hydration Druid on Americas, and then Egglock, in most of the slots. The Brazil lineup did very well. I mean, there were 5 of them in, but 3 of them made it through. So Grimaldi, Jake, Lucas, and Nature, who's from Canada, made it through over Briarthorn, Fled, Vivis Hachiko, and Vestrita, who apparently has a vision impairment, so that's why he was very, very close to the screen. And his name actually translates to I don't think it's like vision impaired, but something along those lines. Yeah, it was a great day. It was a long day, and my power cut. I had a massive windstorm that I lost power at home, like on Friday. I moved my entire setup to my brother's place where there was power, and he lives in Portland right now, but so he just let me use that place. And I was all set up and got some extra sleep during the APAC region. I was all set to do my last 2 casts of the day, and in the middle of casting with, I think it was with Soddle first, it cut out, and then Pocket had to fill. Pocket had to jump in, and was kind of flustered by that. And the main thing was like the power just flickered. It came back on right away. I think they were just doing so much electrical work in the area that like it flickered. So many people had lost power. And the internet took a while longer to get back online. So I'm frantically trying to fix this issue. I get back on. Okay, about that match was so fast. It was like a 3-0. And then I'm about to cast the last match with Pocket. And it happened again. And then Pocket had to solo fill for less time, admittedly. But I was so embarrassed. And it's like, I think people understand, hey, there's nothing you can do. Like, it's the power, like... But it's not.
I mean, it's not like you're in a studio where they have everything handled for you with generators and whatever to back it up. Like you're doing it from your house.
Right.
Like, that's going to happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's just like a squirrel chews through a wire and that's the end of it, right? Like, you know.
Yeah, it's very stressful though. Like it must have been very flustering. Yeah.
But yeah, it made it through. It was a good event. Definitely lots of great games to watch, and none of it is relevant in terms of the decks because this was the Franken meta. So
So we can just say goodbye to all of those decks and we can we can talk about some new ones.
All right. So we already talked a lot about Cataclysm in Life and Ladder, but we have a brand new meta from Rotation. And really the only thing that I've seen people playing this week that people were playing last week is Dragon Warrior. No Minion Demon Hunter was an older deck, but kind of fringe, and it's now doing very well. And then Imbue Druid is an old deck-ish, but it's a little bit different, and also that was from like Emerald Dream. So otherwise we have lots of new decks. So what we thought we would do is talk through quickly, as we can, some of the decks that you might want to try playing in the new meta. We have a deck sheet in the show notes with a bunch of lists that we'll be referencing, as well as some other lists that you can check out from the offcurve.com/new-meta-deck lists. Link also in the show notes if you want more sort of off-the-wall decks as well as the straight meta decks. So we already mentioned a lot at the top. Imbue Druid is kind of public enemy number one in the meta right now.
Oh, there's so much green.
There is so much green in its matchup spread. And yeah, I mean, not a lot more to say about that. It's not quite the same as like when we did a Decksplanations for Imbue Druid like a year ago. But you're playing an aggro deck where if the game goes long, you have a lot of really big minions. And then you also have Malorn and Shaladricel just in case the game goes really long. I did actually, as Treant Druid, manage to win against an Imbue Druid on turn 11. Because I think it just didn't occur to them that if they didn't just clear me every turn and not go face, that I wouldn't just run out of stuff. But I had a Myrdricel, and I kept getting Hatchery Helpers in the way. Because Hatchery Helper gives all your stuff taunt. So they kept sort of not being able to go face, but then even when they could go face, they kind of didn't. And I just like somehow inched over the line right before they were going to kill me. They couldn't quite find like the last 2 damage they needed. However, in general, that is favored for the Imbue Druid if it goes a little longer, but don't be fooled by like the Malorn and the Shaladricel. Those are just finishers. You are a pretty aggro deck. You're trying to balance like going wide and playing a lot of spells early, then you make some big dudes in the mid game, and if it goes late, you have Malorn and Shaladricel.
And if you're playing against it, you can, and this is going to sound weird coming out of my mouth, you can beat them by just hitting them in the head. Because they do take a couple of turns to get going. They have to spend the first couple of turns just kind of playing spells to be able to pump up their hero power to the point where it's not embarrassing to press it. And you can get, if you can spend those first couple turns just developing a board and getting damage in, and then only making them trade into you while you're putting down big threats. Like I've been playing the warrior, and like I would get the thing that gives you a weapon if you have a dragon and a whelp carrier, and then maybe the 3-drop dragon who refreshed your crystals and stuff like that, getting it into the precious slither drake, and then just say deal with it, right? And just keep hitting their stuff and make them trade. Like I was playing against one today where they had a full wide board. They played the spell that gives all of their stuff. I think it was like a hybrid imbue token druid, because they were playing the spell that summons 2 treants and then gives all their treants summon a treant.
I mean, they're playing that just because it's a really good card.
Yeah. So it's hard to tell, but it's like they had like a full wide board with everything was going to dump treants. I'm like, screw it. I'm going to hit them in the head and let them trade. And that went on for a couple of turns because my things were so big that I was able to do that. And then I was just able to finish them off with like a precursory strike or something for lethal over the top. And you can do that, but you have to go into that matchup expecting her to do that and mulligan accordingly, because you want to be able to take advantage of those first couple turns to get ahead on board and start getting that damage in before they start getting going.
Yeah, and actually on HS Replay, their two non-favored matchups are sort of Treant Token Druid, not usually because they did what I did, usually because they get under if they're going to win, and Unholy Death Knight.
Yeah.
Unholy Death Knight has like taunts that's hard for their big things to get through, and then it can just kind of ignore because they're big dudes that you make with the hero power, but they don't have rush, they don't have taunt. So if you have a big wide board, you just can hit face.
Yeah.
We also, so the Dragon Warrior, as you mentioned, you can play Dragon Warrior. It's running some of the, the new Darkscale Broodmother, Carrier Whelp. Otherwise, it's a very similar list to how it was previously. So, like, you've got the Great Jaco Rex, Wind's Peak Worm, right? This is a list that Wicked has up on the stream right now, is very similar to lists we've had in the past. It's running Torch now. Torch is really strong if you have ways to damage the board, because it can kill a lot of things. So this version actually does have a little bit of the like damage stuff, so there is a little bit of new stuff going on. But then, and fire spells, but there's also just like dragons and the same top end. If you liked that deck, or you don't have as many of the new cards, go for it. You don't need any of the legendaries. If you do want to play it with Ragnaros, you can also do that. But if you don't have Rag, you just want to play some dragons and maybe some fire spells and enrage stuff, go for it.
It's probably the better way to play it, honestly. Like the Ragnaros has been pretty mid, like in the list that I've been playing. Like it's mostly the dragons. Like it's a little bit of extra damage that you're getting from the heralds, but it's the dragons. It's playing a 6/8 on 4 into a 6/6 that deals 5 damage and gains you armor on 5. That's really winning the games, and like the herald stuff is kind of secondary, to be honest. I know, it hurts my heart too, but it is what it is. I'm just telling the truth. Like that's how it's felt, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And again, it's day 2.
Yeah.
Right now, also like there's a lot of really fast board-based decks, and the best tools that you have to deal with a fast board-based deck is to have your own fast board right now. If that becomes less true, then the Ragnaros stuff might be doing a little better. Enzo's playing some sort of Dragon Warrior where he threw in the new patron thing. He was saying the patron thing is not really it, but he threw it in because he really likes the card and it works all right in a dragon shell. So you can probably find that in our Discord if you're looking for it. No minion sort of spell DH is also very strong. Doesn't really have a lot of new cards. It has the new Sigil of the Seas at the start of your next turn. Summon a 3/3 Naga with Taunt. It has Broxigar's Last Stand, which is the new deal 1 damage to all minions, draw a card for each that died, and you have ways to like make things with like Infestation. And also there's a lot of small minions in the meta right now. Like if you're facing a token druid, you will draw cards.
I'm so bummed that it doesn't have Nespira in the end. Like
I think some of the lists do. This particular one doesn't. But yeah, the fact that Nespira is like, we maybe aren't running that. Let me see if there are other lists. Yeah, there are other lists that are doing well that do run Nespira. So it seems to be in about half of them on HS Guru. So the particular list we have here doesn't have it, but if you have it and want to run it, like you absolutely can. That's the legendary location that does 1 damage, reopens when you cast a Fell spell, and Death Rattle summons Nespira, which when you cast a Fell spell gives you a Naga, a lot of whom have synergy with Fell spells, but you're not getting more Ajaras. Sorry. This deck is not running Ajara anyway, of course. So those are the sort of older things, but if you want to play newer things, we kind of already talked about Treant Druid a lot, so I don't think we necessarily need to go through it more. I have 2 lists in this. We have one from Atsuna. I'm not sure if Atsuna made the list or just posted this list. That's relatively similar to the one that was on like the day 1 VS list. There might be a couple differences here. It works well. There's also, I put a token druid from Divu HS. Not quite sure how you pronounce it. This was the highest rated deck on HS Replay, and also strong on HS Guru as well. And this one has Ancient Raptor, which I've been finding that working pretty well. Ancient Raptor is the 2-drop 2/1 that you can give the Death Rattle summon 2/1/1 plants. We just want stickiness, right? It has 1 Brood Watcher, which is the new 4/5 dragon that gives you 2 3/3 whelps with taunt on the board if you've spent 8 mana while holding it. They're actually running Flitterwing, which I like because I kind of believe in Flitterwing, but I kind of got peer pressured out of it into Power of the Wild.
Well, they're also running Power of the Wild, so
yeah, they are running both, which might be the correct thing to do. But everyone's running a core of like the Cub, Ravenous Flock, Howtree Helper, Wildwood Circle, Wicker Fang. So I put in the Divu HS though because I felt a little vindicated that they have Iridescent Flitterwing and Amir Drasil, and an Ancient Raptor, and we're doing really well. So I was like, haha, I'm adding it into the list. But we already talked a lot about that. So Herald Shaman, I have definitely seen, I have not played this yet myself. I know you had mixed success with it, Wicked. I've definitely seen opponents doing pretty well with it. This list here is actually an Elise list. This is from No Hands Gamer.
you run Elise because you can, I think. Just because you're running Static Shocks, you have a 0. You're running Deathwing, which gives you a 10, and Murden's Last Stand is a 9. Alakir's an 8. So like you've got and even like Altraxian's a 6. You're running like you just have the costs in the deck just by playing the cards that you want to play anyway. So there's no cost to you running Elise aside from like 1 card slot in the deck. And I honestly don't know that Elise is worth running. It's not worth running. Like I tried to make the double Alakir dream work once and it was okay, but it was so hard to set it up that because like having to play a 4-mana 3/5 that doesn't immediately affect the board is really rough in this meta.
How times have changed.
Yeah.
I have to say, I feel better with it. We'll see how I feel next week. But the fact that you actually get punished for just playing a 3/5 on 4, thank God.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You're not getting punished in death building, but you are getting punished by tempo because it doesn't do enough. And generally, like you're facing down a 6/8 or you're facing down a board of 2/2s that are about to get buffed or something by that point. And just playing that, and then the rewards from the location are generally not good enough to justify it. So you're almost always doing something else. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets cut, even though it's effectively quote unquote free to run it. But it's a lot of, I mean, the Twilight Egg's really good, especially because you can buff it with the Heralds. So that's been pretty good. This list is running Primordial Overseer. I don't think that's wasn't in the list I was running. The list I was running Hex and Healing Rain, which are probably not correct. Because the one thing you want to Hex, you can't target. So it's
Well, there's big abuse.
Yeah, but I mean that's just like that's going 1-for-1 with the imbues, which you generally isn't going to be a winning plan, you know. So it's he's actually running Ceremonial Clash, which is interesting. That's the 4-mana spell, overload 1, summon a random 3/2 and 1 cost minion.
Oh, that's because you do that with the elemental. When my opponents do this, I'm always like, this is a problem.
Oh yeah, because it's running Greco Cloud Strider, which is the 4-mana 4/3 elemental battlecry. Choose a spell in your hand that costs 4 or less to absorb, and Death Rattle cast it. Yeah, that makes sense because then you don't get Well, you do get overloaded, but you aren't paying mana for the spell, so who cares?
Right.
Do you even get overloaded?
I think
You
you
should
casts?
because you're still casting it.
Okay.
Like even when you Yogg in a box, that's gone now. So I'm sorry to traumatize you, Edel, but like when you would Yogg in the box and Yogg would play an overload spell, you would still get overloaded.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't noticed that. I just noticed that when the thing died, they had an even bigger board than before it died. So I was always like, do I even kill this thing? And so I wouldn't kill the thing, but then they're hitting me with this 4/3 that might have more attack because of the heralds. So yeah, I think that's a strong play. And you could always like do Flight of the Firehawk on it in a pinch if you don't have Ceremonial Clash, but I have never yet had one die and not had it pop out Ceremonial Clash.
I mean, you're using Flight of the Firehawk to find the Crackling Cloud Strider, ultimately, right? Because Flight of the Firehawk, again, it draws two minions of different minion types and gives them +2/+2. It was originally intended for the Shaman quest, but we don't need to run the quest because that card is still 3 mana, draw 2, buff the minions, which is fine. And yeah, you sometimes, like, you're running Wailing Vapor. Like, there's a lot of elementals in here. Not actually sure what are we drawing that's not an element. Oh, you got Xavius is a demon. Ultraxian's a dragon. But those are the only things that aren't elementals. So you're generally getting an elemental on either an Ultraxian or a Xavius, which can find you something else, which is fine. I've seen some of them running the Whelp Carrier as another thing to get out of Flight of the Firehawk, so you don't whiff, but it doesn't really matter. But there are enough elementals that you'll get, and getting those buffed is pretty good. Like if you're getting a buff on, say, like a Skywall Sentinel, so now it's all of a sudden it's a 3/5 instead of a 0/3 that gets buffed by the Herald. That's pretty good. So yeah, it's a good list. It just sometimes can fall behind because the early plays can sometimes just be not enough. And like I had a game where I just could not stick a board and conceded on 6 after I hard cast a Muradin's last stand for 6 mana because I'd only gotten to attack 3 times in the preceding 5 turns. And I was not, and I was just sitting there with like 2 Muradin's last stands and I think like a Healing Rain or a Hex or something in my hand and just hating life. So it can, I think this list looks like it's a little bit lower to the ground and has less of that problem because running double Hex, double Healing Rain in the list I was running left you open to the possibility of just not having enough to do. And if you don't have a board that you can keep, you will just fall too far behind and lose because there isn't a real great way to catch up a lot of it, especially with this deck.
But if you are interested in the Shaman set, like it can be strong, and you know, thinking about positioning and stuff like that, it's definitely a deck that you can do well with. And I think probably having the more proactive list is going to help you. I have beat the Shamans, but also been beat by the Shamans. So we have here a Herald Warrior from the Housewife, Dragon Herald Warrior. So we're running like Carrier Whelp, Dark Rider, Broodkeeper, Petal Peddler. They always have Broodkeeper on 2. I swear, every single warrior has Broodkeeper on 2.
I think I've gotten it like almost every game. I don't know how it works either, but I mean, maybe they should make it cut the decks or something. I don't know, but it's it happens.
And you have Darkskull Broodmother, Whelp of the Infinite. Scorching Ravager, which is one of the Herald cards for Ragnaros, is also a dragon. That's the 4 mana 4/3 that Battlecry, Herald, Ragnaros give the soldier Resh. Ultraxian is also a dragon, so that works out well. You still have the Great Dracorex and Windpeak Worm, but then you have all the Herald stuff and Deathwing. I think if the meta slows down a little at some point, this may end up being the superior way to do Dragon Warrior. At the moment, it probably is not, but it is definitely still something that totally works if you want to play with Ragnaros and the Heralds.
Yeah, this does seem better than the list I was running, which is it's not running Dracorex for some reason. I don't really understand why it wouldn't be.
Dracorex seems too good enough to run. Like, I guess it's not good against Imbue because their stuff is too big by that point, but it just feels like...
Yeah, that definitely seems like a mistake. It's running like 2 copies of Shadowed Informant, which seems like an inferior dragon. It's running Eternal Toil, which I forgot was a card, which is
That's
1
because
mana.
we were running it,
Yeah.
but now we have other options.
Yeah, it's a 1
Yeah.
mana shadow spell. Deal 1 damage to a minion. If it survives, draw a card. If it dies, summon a random 1 cost minion, which is fine, but it's not Dracorex. I mean, I guess the argument for against Dracorex is that you're very often not getting to 8. So that is a fair argument, but yeah, we're also like, it's also not running Whelp of the Infinite, which I don't understand why we wouldn't be running Whelp of the Infinite. Whelp of the Infinite is too good to be able to, because you need something to be able to challenge an opposing present Slither Drake in the mirror. Because if your opponent plays a Whelp of the Infinite, you can't play a 4 mana 6/8 because it just dies and it leaves them another poison behind and you've done nothing. So then you have to spend removal on it, and the removal is generally inefficient. So having Whelp of the Infinite seems like the way you want to go. Yeah. I mean, I've had success with this list that I was running, but it did feel clunky occasionally. And this list from the Housewife looks better than what I was playing.
Yeah, this looks pretty solid. Dragons definitely can still be very strong, but then if you want to be able to have a little bit more of a late game, and I am seeing a little bit more late game things pop up. I mean, we had some people in the chat talking about, like, right now the stats for Quest Warrior, Herald DK, priests of all kinds are looking pretty dismal, not gonna lie. But now whether they can improve all the way up without balance changes, I don't know. Some of them are pretty low, but I definitely can believe that they might be hard to refine. The meta is in a certain kind of place. Like, I think it's a little early to say just there are not control tools in this meta. And it'll depend on what are they facing, right? For control decks, it has a lot to do with what are we facing. So
yeah. It's also like, again, this past rotation was an anomaly. Typically, it takes like 2 weeks after rotation for you to really start seeing the control deck start to show up, because it takes that long. Nobody's going to, first of all, you're not going to try to beat the meta that hard by brewing a control deck for the first like week or so, when you know whatever is the top of the meta is probably going to get nerfed into the ground. And then you need to wait for whatever that meta settles into, and then you need to start experimenting to see what ends up rising to the top of that and how to counter it. And it also just has to be like, on what axis are a lot of the popular decks going? It seems like this is a counterable meta, but the problem is the way you would counter a meta like this is generally just a lot of small removal, and then you have Imbue Druid. And you can't really go 1-for-1 with removal against Imbue Druid, because they just get to press their hero power and make a big thing, and eventually you run out of removal spells.
Yeah, that's a really good point, that if they hit Imbue Druid, but not the other aggro, that could still open up space for control. Yeah. Because I am sometimes being out-controlled by the Herald DKs that I run into.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And I'm not playing Imbue Druid, I'm playing Treant Druid. So, yeah, I can see a world where if they hit the Imbue Druid, so they don't have to worry about going tall in the same way that makes the meta look a little different.
Yeah. But you're not going to build a control deck to play slow games and then just give up 1 out of 3 to Imbue Druid, right? Because I mean, not that it's completely unwinnable, but them being able to just make a giant minion every turn or 2 is just really hard to keep up with when you're going 1-to-1 with the removal spells. So eventually they get 1 through, and they only have to, generally at that point in the game, they only have to get 1 through.
All right. Well, another thing that you can do is Aura Paladin. I've also seen this as End of Turnidin. It is Aura Paladin, but we've added in some of the end of turn. This particular list that we have here from No Hands Gamer is actually only running 1 Sand Fury Aura. And having played a little bit of the Aura Paladin, I kind of have to agree with that. If you have both Sand Fury Auras in your hand, Sand Fury Aura is the new one that doubles your end of turn effects.
Only on your minions, by the way. It's only the end of turn effects on your minions. It doesn't double your auras. That's very important for that card.
That is very important. So for that reason, like, we're actually running fewer end of turn things than a lot of what we were doing in theory crafting. It's really like, so Nosdormu Bronze Aspect, the legendary, is nuts, but you can kind of save up one of the like inspiring mauls for him, or like save up your Sand Fury aura for him, or get that from like Gelbin. You don't really need to have it in place ahead of time necessarily. And then the other end of turn things that we're playing, this one was not on my bingo card. Spearheart Sentry, which is a 4-mana 3/4 dragon. At the end of your turn, get a random holy spell, reduce its cost by 3. Edel, I think you were higher on this one, and you were totally right.
Yeah.
Reducing the card cost by 3 is a lot.
Yeah, without the reduction, you wouldn't run it. But reduced by 3 is crazy. Like, you can hit the Shatter spell and just not care, right? Because you just play each side for 2 mana, which is less than if you got it to combine on a normal one. So, that one I think is kind of much better than it maybe looks like on paper.
Yeah, I got a bunch of that in the pre-release brawl because you would get that from Onyxia a lot. Like when you'd only heralded it twice, then that there weren't that many 4-drops, and that was one of them, and that felt pretty good. I mean, obviously you're playing it for free, but it felt pretty good when you were playing it. It was one of the better 4-drops that you could get out of Onyxia. So I'm not surprised that it started finding its way into a list.
Yeah. No, it turns out just there's a lot of pretty good hits. It's good value. It can help you survive or deal with things. You can get more auras. Yeah. So they have that, and Scalebreaker Bulwark, which is the 6-mana 3/6. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to all enemies. Probably a lot of that is a function of the current meta that we are in, but also, like, if you get that and then you double it, that's 4 damage to all enemies, and then they still have to clear it somehow, right? Like, they have to clear this while getting AoE to their board. It's probably not going to be that effective against a mid to late game Imbue Druid, although sometimes they'll also have small stuff. But if you're facing like Hunter or Treant Druid, that's going to be really effective. Or even some of the dragons. So
it also just goes face.
And it just goes face. Yeah, there is that. And then we have some of the same auras that we had before. Obviously, we definitely miss not having Crusader aura, but we still have the Gelbin Fabled auras. We have Acceleration aura, of course. Chronological aura is pretty strong in this meta. And Sand Fury aura.
Yeah. And we're running Ursol and Renewing Flames for some reason.
I have seen some people doing that. I think some of the lists are running that and some of them are not. Because if you're facing like an Imbue Druid, that'll clear a couple things and heal you up, potentially.
Yeah.
On turn 8, without the weapon being able to tutor it up for you.
I mean, I think it's more of like a hedge because, you're not going to tutor Gelbin either, right? And so it gives you potential to like, well, I've got something to do on 8. This is a meta where Chromatus is not it because you're not going to be ahead. Right? Like,
I guess we're running the Curator, which can tutor Ursol. Because Ursol's a beast.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
I don't know what the dragon and the Murloc are, or if we even
Spearheart
care.
Sentry is a dragon.
Okay.
And Violet Treasure Girl is a Murloc.
Is a Murloc. So that's one of the reasons that you run Ursol, because that's probably the best beast you have access to in Paladin. And if you're running Ursol, you may as well run Renewing Flames, because why not?
Yep.
Yeah, it gives you something else. And like, there are some slower decks running around. So you do need to not just die to those. So yeah, the Paladin, I've definitely been talking to people who are having fun with it. You have, Righteous Protector and Hard Light Protector. If you get that out with Nosdormu, it's great. I have just auto-conceded against a Paladin that got Nosdormu going. And I was just like, all right, I've seen this movie before. Good job. But sometimes if they only just get it out without a lot of stuff on, like you have a hope. You can try to get rid of it. So it's not like, I play Nosdormu, I auto-win. But it is a very strong card. Face Hunter, I think we talked a little bit about this already, or I did in the Life and Ladder. So we're playing a lot of 1-drops. and like Rock Skipper, which gives us a 1-cost thing, and like some burn, like we were doing before in Discover Hunter, kind of. Although this is a very different deck than Discover Hunter, and we have Precise Shot, Bursting Shot, Arcane Shot. Neri allows you to either double some of that burn or double the stats of some of your minions, or both. The Sisters are good, although you're not getting them as consistently as you were in Discover Hunter, and you're not getting them more than once. So that definitely makes it feel really different than Discover Hunter. So keep that in mind. But it has pretty good win rates. It actually has a negative win rate against Priest, which is funny. I feel like this is like the only...
Well, I mean, when you can heal back up to 30 every turn, then you don't really care. Yeah.
That is absolutely true. It makes sense. And it has a good win rate against Druid, so there you go.
It must make you feel some kind of way that there's a deck where the curve legitimately tops out at 3.
I know. Well, I'm sitting there going, really? We're not running Supply Run? But I guess not. Our curve just legitimately tops out at 3, and we expect to win on 5, I guess. Or confront the Tolvir somehow and win that way. Another option for more proactive play. I mean, this is like, there have never been so many aggro options that are all good here, you guys.
I still feel like it should have Supply Run, because
it does feel like it should. A lot of decks are, and some are running Gen. Yeah, we have a comment in the chat. Some people run Gen. I have been running Gen, and Gen does feel pretty good. You probably still can run a decent amount of 2s and run Gen because you don't have much of a hand.
I mean, it maybe is even minus Sisters plus Supply Run and Gen.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
I don't know how good the Sisters are if you're having to play multiple of them to get the value out of them, honestly. Like, I mean, not that they're bad. Not the first one is bad, but you're not expecting to play more than one in a game, probably. Because that's pretty slow by this deck's standards.
Looking on HS Guru, there was like shockingly little data on, like, nobody is running Supply Run. And nobody is not running the Sisters, which is really weird to me.
Well, you can be an innovator.
So I guess I'll put the one that I've been running in the show notes. I definitely think it could be improved in certain ways, but
particularly because like, imagine you Supply Run and you hit Neri and a couple 1-drops, and they've got the +2/+2.
I have done that.
That's huge. Yeah.
You always get them combined pretty short order. Like, yes, you're spending 4 mana to not develop the board, but then you're developing a bunch of 1-drops that essentially are worth 3 mana now because they have +2/+2. So you're getting the mana back on the back end if you're playing this. Like, this is, I didn't win on 4, so I'm playing Supply Run, and now I have big things. And like, yeah, maybe you work in like Glacial Shard in the mix just to make up for the turn off. But yeah, I feel like there's just a lot of power.
I guess maybe the thought is that if you have to spend 4 not developing the board, you probably lost with this deck. You know what I mean? I think that probably is the logic, but I'm not sure that's true. Yeah, I'm not sure that it necessarily plays out that way. Given how I've been doing with my version with Gen and Supply Run, I definitely didn't do as well with it as I did with the Treant Druid today. I think maybe a list that's halfway in between this and what I've been running might be the sweet spot. I'm sure Sidisi is playing around with stuff, although he's also playing around with like dragon combo hunters. He's not playing a face hunter. Are you kidding me? He's playing a priest deck with green cards. He's not playing a face hunter. That's not his style. Doesn't he sometimes? Very rarely. Sometimes. You know what? Because the thing is that this is gonna be the more popular hunter deck, which means that that's not what he's gonna play. Because he's gonna play whatever the less popular, less explored thing is and try to figure that out. He's not gonna like playing the aggro deck where the curve tops off at 3 is absolutely not his style. He'll play it once in a while, but so I'll play an aggro deck too when I have no choice. But that's not where he's going to go.
Well, I will try out this, like, see if I can get a Face Hunter halfway in between this and what I was doing, and see if, like, if we put Gen and Supply Run in for the Sisters, and maybe take out, like, Bursting Shot, because that costs 2. Like, maybe take out a couple of these 2s. We might be in business. But at any rate, Unholy DK is another aggressive option. This is triple Unholy. It has Grave Strength. It has some 1-drops, Mosquito, Mermy, Carrier Whelp, Ancient Raptor. Right, we're getting just a lot of corpses, and we're going really wide. Living Paradox goes wide. Reluctant Wrangler, which is the 3-mana 1/1 Reborn Death Rattle summon a 2/2 Unbeat with Taunt. That goes wide. Living Paradox is the 3-mana 2/1 that summons 2 copies of itself. Well, not technically copies, 2 more 2/1s. We have Reanimated Pterodax, we have Nerubian Swarm Guard, so we have lots of ways to go wide for our Grave Strength, and if we get a little behind, we have Shadows of Yesterday, which summons up 4/3/2 Shades. We have Chow Down, which is the summon 5/4 Undead Drakes, spend 8 corpses to give them Rush. That's your, like, panic button. And we have Talanji's Last Stand, which we talked about last week, which was the give your minions Death Rattle, summon a random 4-cost minion. And yeah, you make a wide board and then they die. That's the plan. This can be frustrating to face sometimes, especially because if they get the Swarm Guards going, you can't just do my normal plan, which would be, I can't deal with how wide your board is, so I'm going to ignore it. A lot of decks really, the thing about Grave Strength is that it prevents people from being able to ignore how wide your board is.
Yeah.
So that can be sort of the tension that you have when facing Unholy DK, is like, I want to hit face, but also if I let them go wide and don't challenge it, that can be a problem for me later.
There's tension in having to clear boards? Not for me. There's not. That's no tension at all. That's just like swimming. That's fine.
Burn Mage. Burn Mage is a totally playable deck. This list is from For the King. It's relatively similar to other things that I've seen people doing. We're running a bunch of burn spells. We're running a little bit of elementals, mostly to be able to get Conjured Bookkeeper, which is the 3-mana 2/2 elemental death rattle draw a spell, kindred, summon a copy of this. And so, like, that's really the reason why we're running Raincaller, which is the new 2-mana 1/4 elemental. The first time you deal damage with a spell each turn, gain +2 attack. Like, that's fine, but we're really running it, I think, to turn on Conjured Bookkeeper.
I mean, it's also just Mana Worm at home, right? Like, it's not bad in this deck. It's like, I don't know that, like, it's better because of Conjured Bookkeeper, but I don't know that you wouldn't necessarily run it in this deck, because it's just like, because it's not till end of turn. It's just +2 attack, when that is something that has to be dealt with, and it's got 4 health, which is not easy to clear.
Yeah, it could easily be a 2-mana 3/4 at a minimum. That's true, because you have a lot of just things that are dealing damage. We have Living Flame to be another elemental and to be draw, and that can draw us either First Flame or Fireball. We've got Time Twist, like spell damage with Thalnos, Time Twisted Seer, Archmage Kalik, of course. Then the shadow card for Mage is also insane, Arcane Flow. This card does just so much damage. That's the deal 4 damage and deal 2 damage to all enemies, except for by the time they play it, it's like deal 5 damage, deal 3 damage to all enemies, like at a minimum. So that's 8 damage to your face and your board is gone. I mean, like, card is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to make it into a Pyroblast if you've got Time Twisted Seer.
Yeah.
I have a question. So if it is split into the 2 pieces and you Story of the Waygate, would it reduce their costs and then reassemble as a 3-cost? Or
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't think this is worth doing, but I'm just wondering about the interaction.
Yeah.
I do not know. I do know that if you buff it while it's separate with Kalik, it will stay buffed when it combines.
Which is real gross.
Yeah, our curse stops at 4 except for Spellweaver's Brilliance, which costs 10, except not really, because that one costs 1 less for each damage you dealt with spells this turn, so actually it costs 0. And it summons you a 6/6 dragon. It costs 0 if you play it with the combined Shatter card. So you destroyed their board, you did a Pyroblast to their face, and by the way, you also have a 6/6 dragon.
Seems good.
I could see it maybe being annoying if it is in between the Arcane Flow getting combined, but I guess it's strong enough that it's still worth running. And yeah, so if you like just like ignoring boards to some extent and just throwing things that people face. And you do have some ways to deal with boards, like with Arcane Barrage, for example. So, and First Flame. So you can deal with some early boards while you're throwing things at people's face.
And Ruined Orb can find you AoE occasionally also. Like you have Ruined Orb, which will discover a spell for you. So sometimes you'll find AoE out of that.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, Wandering Whelp too will get you a 1-cost spell from any class. Sometimes that'll get you a Deja Vu. You can go steal their AoE and deal with them that way.
Yeah.
If they have AoE.
So now we get into our sort of quick hits of less high stats decks or just less tested decks. So we're going to start with Egg Warrior. This got popular because Clark was playing it on stream and tweeted about it. It does appear to quite possibly be real. But again, often when Clark is like, this is a meta breaker, it may or may not be a meta breaker. But this does actually have pretty good early stats. So we have Egg of Kalos. We have lots of ways to damage it, and we have Torch. We also have things like Shellnado and Decimation, Siphoning Growth, destroy a friendly minion to gain 8 armor, Exeggcute. So we have lots of ways to either kill their stuff and or kill our egg pretty quickly. I have not played this myself, but that appears to be the logic here. And then you have Umbra for after you've cracked it. You get a bunch more.
And remember that Exeggcute only targets enemy minions, so it's Exeggcute, not Execute. Just remember that.
You generally are going to want to be using Execute on enemy minions at this point anyway. But
Execute is a Hearthstone spell, Execute is a Pokemon.
Torch, however, can be used on your own stuff.
Yes. And that is reusable. And so that'll probably be a major way that you are trying to get this down. I wonder if this deck would ever run Living Flame to tutor Torch.
Or Decimation for that matter, because Decimation also will kill your eggs.
I definitely have seen some warriors messing around with like lots of fire spells and Living Flame, but I don't know that they've managed to make it into the mainstream.
Yeah, but you're also running Shellnado, which also can kill your eggs. So you're running the AoEs that hit your minions too, because you're fine with that because you want your eggs to die. So
yeah, it's interesting how egg has become less of like a let's turbo the egg and more of let's control the game while this egg just sort of dies to the AoEs until eventually you've got a 2020. And because of Umbra, you can then do that later on for the reload of a huge board.
Yeah. You also have Siphoning Growth, which destroys a friendly minion to gain 8 armor. So that just kind of works with what you want to do anyway. Then you can Siphoning Growth into a Shellnado if you want to, and then kill 2 eggs in 1 turn.
So that's another option if you want to play a slower warrior. There are also, the Quest Warrior I haven't included here again because the win rate is not that high, but again, like, keep an eye on that and also check for less common builds on whatever your favorite stat site is. Sometimes these things are very build dependent. Herald Rogue. Sorry, Wicked, I'm going to talk about this briefly. We have a list here from Homie Was Taken. It's kind of an Ashamain Rogue. There's also running Sinestra, Ultraxia, and Deathwing. Kind of a random stuff go.
It dies to all the fast decks. It dies to Druid, it dies to Hunter, it dies to Mage. That's pretty much most of what you need to know about this deck.
Yeah. If the meta changes a lot, this will be the sign that we ended up in a grindy meta, will be if Herald Rogue comes to the fore.
Well, it depends. What
I mean, you have your aggro version, Edel. That is true.
Yeah.
I think the tricky thing, right, is that with Ziliax gone, there's no like neutral I'm gonna gain a bunch of life thing, right? Like you could do something like this if you had access to Ziliax Shadow Step, right? That is on multiple levels, not here. So, yeah, I think we're sort of back in the age of rogue doesn't have good like ability to gain life. Now, you're still going to steal games sometimes because you're going to find some, right? Like I got a clutch flash heal one time. I think it's going to depend a lot on like the prevalence of other aggressive decks, right? That are going to beat you down. Certainly if things slow down a little, like I don't think they need to slow down that much. I don't think it needs to be a grindy meta, but if there's just a lower prevalence of it, not just aggro decks, but particularly like burn based aggro, then this goes a lot better because you can actually do better against something like an aggro druid where you can just like clear their board most of the time and they don't have access to a lot of burn. Burn mage is a nightmare. The no minion DH is not great because they can do from hand damage.
Yeah. It's also worth mentioning when you're spending 4 card slots on Deja Vu and Nightmare Fuel, and most of what's in your opponent's decks are like crappy 1-drops and 2-drops that are really good in large quantities and not particularly good when you're spending a card to discover one from your opponent's deck. It's not as good because you're kind of looking for more haymakers when you're playing those cards, and you're not going to find them in something like even a Treant Druid. Like most of their value is coming from the hero power that you don't have, so it's a bunch of like really cheap nature spells that don't really do a lot on their own, but they do buff up the druid's hero power, so they don't care that they're just spending mana and cards on low value because they're getting the value elsewhere, and you're not getting that value as the purple rogue.
Yeah, I do think that they are presently baked. Right? If we were in a meta of a bunch of other Herald decks, they'd be more appealing because you can hit their Heralds to advance your game plan. But as it stands, I don't run them. Now again, I'm a more aggro, like I don't have Ashamain, I don't have Deathwing, I don't have
Ashamain is absolutely like copium.
I mean, they face too many of the DKs, right?
Yeah, you're not getting a 9. With this deck.
Or Quest Warriors.
Yeah, that's in case I run into, because there are slower decks running around.
Yeah. But I think you just have to trust like your rolls. I'll just, I guess, switch over to promoting mine here, I guess, which is, do we call it a Herald Rogue? Maybe not, but I made an aggro rogue that basically super low to the ground, and I don't think you can play rogue without Winged Aberration right now and expect to live. It's so good.
So that's a 4-mana 4/4 dragon rush combo, overload for 2 to gain immune this turn and Wind Fury.
I'm surprised the shamans aren't running this, because this was really good in the pre-release brawl, and this is really good for getting board back. And I haven't seen any of the shamans running this, and they probably ought to be.
I think people have some biases from pre-rotation, right?
Yeah.
And so, you're still running Deja Vu and Nightmare Fuel when I don't think you should be right now. People are not running Winged Aberration, where I think it's very good, right? Like, this is how I deal with the 6/8 elusive, is which I can do because it's a 6/8, not a 6/9, and it just lines up perfect. I actually, for a bit, wanted the spell damage stealth, and then I realized that like that's just good with Opu, and then I don't actually have a lot of spell damage things. I have Eventuality and Rite of Twilight, but Chrono Daggers I just couldn't squeeze in, and I think you got to sort of build around Chrono Daggers if that's the route you're going, and I feel like I don't want to risk Chrono Daggers like getting sunk into minions when I want to go in base. And there's no Eviscerate anymore. It's this weird thing where you're really looking for like Foxy Flashback or early Spy Mistress. Like Maniacal Follower and Rite of Twilight are pretty decent in the early game, just as early pressure, right? Because of the stealth on follower and like, you kill a thing and make a thing with Rite of Twilight while generating your spell. So it's got some capability to like fight for that early game board while sometimes having just explosive early turns. If you go for a Foxy Fraud flashback and then prep Rite of Twilight your thing, and now I've got just a bunch of stuff on board and removed it and then got a free spell back. And yeah, you could still, there's the two eventualities, and sometimes you switch hero power and go into value mode with the imbue hero power. So like you're not often gonna be getting Sinestra to 4/4s, but it can happen. It's more just about the extra value. I've got days though, and maybe if the number of imbue druids goes down, I'll remove that. But the can't play next turn text on days feels pretty nice to me.
Yeah, this is the sap that costs 3 mana and they can't play it their next turn.
Sap on steroids. Yeah.
Yeah. That one I still like. I don't know if it'll stick around or not. Probably, if the meta shifts, it'll be one of the first things to go. But it's felt pretty decent in the times I've had it.
That Winged Aberration, I think you're totally right, Wicked, that Shaman should play it, because that would be also insane with the Shaman Herald.
Oh, it was really good with the Shaman Herald. Like it was honestly like I forgot that it was in the mini set. I had it on my superlatives until I realized it was the wrong set because I hadn't seen it at all from the mini set. And then I'm like, wait, why can't I find this when I'm looking through the Cataclysm cards? Oh, right, it's a dual class card. We've had it all along, and I just didn't notice. But it was really, really, really good. It was probably one of the best cards. Now, again, you were also playing the 4 mana 7/7 that unlocked your mana crystals in that version of the list that we're also not running. So that also that makes it a little bit more appealing, but honestly, not that much more. I mean, Overload 2 is a lot, but you have things you can do on 3 mana on turn 5. It's not the end of the world if you're overloaded.
Yeah, we should try that. Try the Shaman again, maybe with a little bit more of an overload, or just this card. But I also do want to try this Herald Rogue, aggro Rogue that you put together at all, because I'm not usually a huge Rogue person, but this looks like it does have some of that fun from Rogue of like you could get into the imbue, you have sort of random spells from the Sinestra Heralds, but we're also just like trying to kill them. And it seems like it might be more suited to the current meta that we have.
One of the funniest things too is like you roll an unplayable spell or minion if you happen to be imbued, and you're just like, oh, I'm gonna Agent of the Old Ones and turn that into a coin.
Yeah.
Yep. Being able to just turn something into a coin, that is a very cool card, I think. All right, well, we have Herald Demon Hunter. This is pretty similar to what we were playing in Theory Crafting, I would say. It has struggled a little bit, but that could change. But we're playing some Fel spells, we're playing all the Herald stuff, we're playing Ajara. Sigil of the Seas is a really good card. That's in the No Minion Demon Hunter as well. That's the 1 mana Fel spell at the start of your next turn. Summon a 3/3 Noggle with Taunt. That's just strong. Interesting. This particular list from Pheno is running 1 Felfire Blaze, which is the 2 mana 2/3 elemental. After you cast a Fel spell, destroy this and deal 2 damage to all enemies. In the current meta, I can see why.
Yeah.
Even though it's only one time. And we have Naspira, I-Beam, Infestation, like lots of ways just to deal with boards. And we are running Broxigar in this, I think, just kind of for drawing 29 cards. And if we do run into a long deck, maybe we Broxigar at the end. But we also have like Azure and Deathwing to close out games. So Broxigar is just there for like Acts of Cenarius and the portals, as he generally has been. So yeah, I think this is a fun deck. I think it's, again, one that might get a little better if we have a little bit less in the way of aggressive things. So interestingly, it does terribly against Warlock. I guess it really cannot deal with eggs.
Yeah, and it loses to Druid. So
that is something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
This particular list has 100% against Priest, but it is only 10 games.
It's not. It's not a hard
That
achievement.
is not a sample size
to unlock. No.
So yeah, if we look at just like archetype stats for Herald DH, it's still bad against Druid and good against Priest. Overall, the Herald DH is exactly 50%. It is definitely a fun thing to try. I'm just trying to go through these a little bit more quickly. Egglock. This is another way that proves that theory crafting is not the meta. We thought that Egglock was going to be or at least that it had a good chance of being the scary thing on launch, and it is playable, but it has not been the scary thing on launch.
Yeah, things were faster.
Things are just faster than it. Yep. But we do have a list here from World 8, who's been making lots of lists for lots of things. It looks like also this one has been played by Theo HS as well on stream. But yeah, it really has a hard time with aggro. 28.4% versus Shaman, 24.2% versus Hunter, 33 versus Mage, 38 versus Druid. And those are like decent-ish sample sizes. So yeah, the Egglock, it turns out you might actually be better off playing eggs in Warrior or maybe even Priest, if that deck from Rami is to be believed, than you are in Warlock right now. I do still think that Cursed Chains is a crazy card. I'm sure that card will do crimes at some point. That is the take control of an enemy minion until the end of their turn. It can't attack this turn. The eggs is not the scariest thing. There are some versions, if we click into the archetype in general, there are some like less greedy Egglocks that have positive win rates. So I just clicked into like archetype stats and decks, and the top one here with 400 games is running Mortal Coil, Hellfire, Eldritch Tentacles, deal 3 damage to all minions, repeat this with 1 less damage. That'll also kill your eggs, right? It's running a Rotten Apple, restore 12 health to your hero. For the next 2 turns, deal 3 damage to your hero.
I seriously considered that card at moments because the burn is just brutal.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's for that reason. It's running more like AoE that will also kill the egg because it's just like much lower to the ground, and only Umbra and Archdruid for repeating eggs, like not having Deathwing or Cho'Gall or any of that. So a list like that might, for the current meta, serve you a little better.
But I think the main issue with this archetype right now is that you can't afford to go Holy Egg Bearer on 2 into Exeggcute on 3 and expect to live through it. Like you also just don't have like the locations and consume. You don't have health drink. You're relying on things like Drain Soul, right? In order to be able to heal up. You just don't, again, you don't have as much healing. And if you're playing a slower deck who wants to just do setup on turn 2 and 3, you're going to be overrun by the time that you get to start executing your game.
Yeah. Well, that's why for the Egg Priest, we have 4 all time, which just destroys the board that they have been building over the past 3 turns.
Except that it also overloads you for 2 and then makes it harder to respond the next turn. So
that's why you have Meneve's Triumph for 1 mana. Or you just Eternal Flame the next, something.
Yeah.
And heal, and then wait to Shadow Word Ruin when their stuff gets big. Now, again, I have no idea if this egg piece is like probably bait, just to be clear, but I am going to keep trying to play with it. I don't want to have anyone think that I baited them without proper disclaimer.
Everyone knows you don't bait with eggs, you bait with worms.
If there isn't like a pun like this in the title, then I will be surprised.
I'm already working on it, don't worry.
Marithra Druid, or just like Dragon Druid in general, is another thing that people have been experimenting with. So yeah, this list that we have here is a pretty small sample size, but it is positive, although low versus hunter. If I click into the archetype stats, it's kind of tier 3-ish as an overall archetype, but again, these things are being refined. Yeah, struggling a little bit against some of the more aggressive things, but like doing really well. Although does well against mage, it looks like. Does well against warriors. What this is doing is it's an Elise deck. We're running more of a top end. We are still running Wickerfang just because it's like a good card standalone as well. Even if we don't have a lot of ways to buff it, we can just play it kind of on our way along. And I imagine if you copy that with Zenojari, that's pretty good. Because I bet because then you get a bunch more legs. So it is running the Lady Ajara and the summon a copy of a friendly minion location Zenojari that can double the stats if you've empowered it with Lady Ajara. Looks like something we have to survive is Twilight Time Reaver, which is the dragon with choose one, set the attack of all other minions to 1 or health to 1. We have the little bit of ramp with the Fellwood Treant. We have Neralex. Underking, Rush, Battlecry, and Death Rattle gain 6 armor. Where
Oh, that's a throwback.
That's been in core this whole time.
I forgot they put that in core. Yeah.
Yep. Briarspawn Drake, Blob of Tar. Yeah, so this is a slower druidy option for people who might be interested in that. And that is the end of the lists that we have in the deck sheet, but I will just mention some other things that I have seen are Patron Warrior, although most of them are not doing super well. Combo Dragon Hunters, just search for Sidisi on Blue Sky or X if you use that. There will be a combo Dragon Hunter where you like do the thing where you reduce the deal 8 damage to the opponent and then you like double it with Neri and then they die. I have seen and put on the off-curve list like a Magma Dragon Hunter thing. Someone, for some Japanese player, made a Vyranoth Blackblood Priest with like some big dragons as well.
See, that's how you bait.
That is how you bait. Yeah, like I think the Egg Priest might actually be good. I do not make any claims on the Vyranoth Blackblood Priest. I did not even put it actually in the sheet, but I linked it in the show notes if you want to be baited. It doesn't actually come with a deck list. You're going to have to like build it from the picture. Or if that's not accessible to you, like at me in Discord or something. But if you really want to be baited, it is there. I think I mentioned I saw like a Menagerie Paladin that I'm interested in. Someone in our Discord posted a Vyranoth Elemental Mage. I think this was JT Snow. I don't know if it's working for him. He didn't seem to be thinking it was working too hard for him, but I thought that was a fun idea. He also made a big Demon Hunter. And Quest Hunter actually does seem to be doing just fine if you want to play Quest Hunter. So there are things to play with in the new expansion, and probably by the time we talk to you again next week, things will have changed again. Even by the time you're listening to this.
So we've run long, so I won't elaborate too much on this deck. I made a warlock that is a Rafam warlock. I think I just briefly mentioned it earlier.
We do have to talk about this. Yes. Sorry, I almost skipped it.
Yeah, well, I talked about it before we went live, I think, or before we started recording. I went through many iterations before I finally landed on, you know what, we have a card now, Sheltered Survivor, that lets you shuffle something back in your deck if you drew it before you could recruit it. So the only minion to recruit is Ultra Gigasaur off of Possessed Animancer. You know, I'm not doing Egg of Kelos things, not doing like a ton of Herald. It's just like the Herald cards are got the 2-drop Shadowsworn Disciple, got the location because it has 2 durability and it draws a card and it summons the thing, and then Deathwing. And I include in that package Cursed Chains because part of the deal is you can steal an enemy minion and then just eat it, getting whatever Death Rattle. And yeah, that's pretty good as removal goes. I built this in a desire to just give a big middle finger to Imbue Druid. And it took some time to figure out the correct way to do that, and until I landed on this. And yeah, Animancer goes a very long way, because unless they can Shaladrasil the Gigantosaur, or sorry, the Ultra Gigasaur, they're gonna lose, because you're just gonna hit them in the face a couple of times while removing their board, and that'll be it. So yeah, if you can help it, don't make trades with Ultra Gigasaur. It's 1428.
Go face.
Yeah. And then, yeah, other times you just do things like Murloc Rafam into Calamitous Rafam, right? The one that deals 6 to all the non-Rafams. So you just end up with these plays where you develop just an absurd amount of tempo from either the higher end Rafam cards, right? Because the 7/7 that makes a couple of taunts is great as well. You've got the Mass Polymorph, fun Archmage. Warchief Rafam is a bunch of armor. So like it's got decent amounts of sustain, and then very high capacity to deal with minions of any size, which was the big thing. Maybe it's bait. I did put a lot of work into refining it. I'm 21 and 14 at this point. I was like declining, and then I refined the list so that it's always Ultra Gigasaur, and I think that was correct. Yeah. Working on whether or not I can fit a second Sheltered Survivor in there, just because drawing Ultra Gigasaur feels really bad. And it's been, if you're seeing a lot of Imbue Druids, maybe give it a try, although it is an expensive deck.
So Patches has now grown to 1428, is what you're saying.
Yeah, except you can shuffle Patches back in and then recruit it out. It's great. Yeah. And, at least, of course, is active because you're running Rafam, which automatically makes her active. And I think, at least for one, I think, like, unless you are specifically looking for copy and you've got to do 5, just do at least for 1, like, most of the time. Because they're such high value, and by eliminating one of the options, you're much more likely to hit exactly what you're looking for in terms of, like, +1 attack and rush, or discover a spell and armor, something like that.
That might bait me into it. Every once in a while I splash in a couple slower decks. So
we'll get you getting closer to God's Light one of these days. Like,
I'm sitting here at like 1300 legend going like, so there's still like a week and a half left in the month. There's plenty of time for me to ruin this rank, and some things are more important than 11x. So we shall see, but I don't think I'm going to just play Treant Druid from now until the end of the month. So, and maybe I'll do well with some of it. So we'll see.
Well, that's going to do it for today. We have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at concede.com. We also find our contact info, our show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/concede. Join us Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.concede.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.concede.com. Write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Blue Sky at CoinConcede. Subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/@CoinConcede. And if you'd like some CZ swag, head on over to our shop with the link in the show notes. CoinConcedes.
Well, I'm going to say a happy Steam sale to all of those who celebrate, and I'm going to coin concede to Colin Space Twinks on Blue Sky, who every Steam sale posts an extremely long thread of random indie games that are on sale during the sale that you might want to check out if you're looking for things that are a little bit off the beaten path. Like, usually there's no AAA, there's nothing. Most of the time it's nothing you've ever heard of, unless you've already been following them. But a lot of those, there's a lot of recommendations. They're generally very good, and it's a lot of work that goes into those. So I just want to give them a shout out to occasionally help me spend my money, but also if you're looking for something else to to take it when you're taking a break from this game, you want to go play something else or just get some stuff for a rainy day or whatever. There's a bunch of good recs in there.
I will coin concede to Rami for making me come back to Priest, and also to our sort of people who are watching on YouTube as well. That's been something that I've been working on, trying to build a little bit. So thank you to those of you who are listening / watching over there as well. And if you are listening on the podcast, we'd love to have you in any way that works for you. But if you would like some visuals with your podcast, that is an option that is available to you that I am doing my best to get out right after or even like at the same time as the regular podcast. Yeah, and I think I can tell that people are excited about Cataclysm because we've had more people sort of tuning in to check out those episodes. And so welcome to anyone who is new to us or new to Hearthstone or returning to Hearthstone. We're so happy to have people excited about the game.
Yeah. It feels good to kind of be back. I mean,
yes.
We never left, but also last year was tough. It was real tough. The highlight was that esports stuff was going well for me.
It's ironic that it took a cataclysm for things to improve.
Indeed. So. Yeah. They went big. They redid the UI and the client for Cataclysm. It's nuts. But
yep.
I'm gonna go ahead and concede to I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find the name. I don't remember, but someone who because I often accept friend requests from random people on Ladder, just because most of the time they're fans of the show. I don't really know everyone on my friends list at this point, but someone just messaged me and was like, "Hey, I feel like no one's been trying this kind of Death Knight," and sent me a list, and it was a pretty cool concept. I think it's not quite there for like the opponents I'm facing, but I hope that this kind of Death Knight does something at some point. It's with Chromatic Broodmother and Blackwing Experiment, all these things that get the extra effects for having increased power, and like Chromatic Broodmother, I feel like something's gonna happen there because you even buff its attack with just Command Claw, and it's free, right? It's a free 4/5 then because it rushes into something, refreshes your 4 mana crystals. But if you get it higher, you can like net gain mana, and so there's some pretty crazy stuff you can do with that. This is using like imbue stuff, which like maybe that's not the way this is going to end up going. Is like maybe this kind of deck only exists once there's enough hand buff things that you don't feel like you need to do imbue. I think it works better with this than I've seen imbue go in general, but it was a cool list, and I appreciated the getting sent it. It's just like randomly I'm playing, and they sent me a message saying like, "Hey, I feel like this is a cool list that I don't see anyone trying," and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, that's going to do it for us for this week. So until next time, keep calm, and remember, you can't make a meta without breaking a few eggs. And if you see us on Ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
All life must end. I yield for now. I concede. Well fought. I concede.
You win this one.
The victory is yours.
You have bested me.
I give up.
You win this one, friend. You win. This